Welcome back to the Mind Body Business Podcast. I'm so excited to be here. I'm your host, Jane Bellante. Today is Motivation Monday, and I want to talk about surviving versus thriving today and why creating actually changes the internal state that your body is living in. So let's get started. Welcome to the Mind Body Business Podcast. I'm your host, Jane Bellante. And this show is about what happens when you stop separating your life, your work, and your well-being and start leading all of it from truth. Each episode will explore the connection between your thoughts, your body, and your business so you can create a life and success that actually feels good. Let's get started. You could be with me live on my Facebook business page every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Central, or you could be listening to the replay on Apple or Spotify or watching on YouTube. Either way, I'm so excited that you're here. And I really feel like most of us live in survival mode all the time. It's that stress, that anxiety, that the forcing, the pushing, staying on that hamster wheel. And the difference between surviving and thriving actually shows up in your body long before it shows up in your life, like long before you actually start to see it. And it's really interesting because survival, it really is that constant, consistent fight or flight state of being. So that is not a mindset. It's actually a psychological state. Does that make sense to you? It's not a mindset. It's a psychological state. So when the body actually is staying alert over time, stress chemistry becomes that dominant environment inside of you. So like you're waking up in the morning and you're already feeling anxiety immediately. Do you feel that? Are you with me here? Body actually. And your cortisol levels stay elevated. Your adrenaline stays active. It's always going, right? And the systems in your body start to be affected. And this is just our biology, right? And so what we know about our biology and what fight or flight is actually meant for is it's meant for short bursts of survival. And what most of us are living in on a day-to-day regular basis, right, is long-term residence of fight or flight. So when survival becomes your baseline, if this is all you're living in all the time, your body begins to break down. This is how disease is created in your body, right? We all know that constant stress is the cause of most disease. So your inflammation in your body begins to rise. Your hormonal systems begin to destabilize. Sometimes we can't sleep. We're waking up, constantly in that hamster wheel of thinking, the monkey mind of thinking, right? We're taking things to help us sleep. And then our nervous system is firing all the time. We're feeling that anxiety, right? We're feeling the constricted throat, the shallow breaths. And we want to understand this because your subconscious mind is all about habit and repetition because it believes that is safety. And It learns through repetition. It learns through chemistry. It learns through, and that's like the chemistry of your body, right? And it learns through what the body practices every single day. Okay. So if your body is practicing constant bracing, the subconscious learns that constant bracing is what your body does. This is who you are. If your body practices constant anxiety and constant stress, the subconscious learns and repeats constant anxiety and constant stress. So conceptually, you can talk about change all you want. You can think about changing all you want. But if your body, your biochemistry, your cells, everything inside of you, if it doesn't change, the subconscious will keep repeating it. And this is why thinking your way out of this fight or flight mode will not work. Because our conscious brain operates on intention. We can have every intention in the world, but the subconscious operates on repetition and familiarity. And because the subconscious brain is responsible for 95% of our day-to-day thoughts, and 90%, something like that, 90% of your daily thoughts are the same thoughts that you had yesterday. Right? So 5% of your thinking brain that comes from your neocortex, the front of your brain, is only 5%. So the subconscious is like constantly, pushing those thoughts down because it keeps reinforcing what it already knows. The same thoughts, the same tone, the same pace. It's not resisting change. It's doing what it's designed to do. So is this making sense? If you are here live with me, please say hello. Please let me know if this is making sense to you. Please let me know if you are experiencing constant fight or flight. Change requires new input. And that's not just your conscious brain saying affirmations over and over, like, whatever an affirmation would be, like, I am amazing, or whatever. Like, your subconscious brain it's not even paying attention to that. So new input cannot come from the same internal environment that created this fight or flight in the first place. A stressed, anxious body cannot rehearse a regulated future. Does this make sense to you? And this is why people feel stuck or get stuck even when you're motivated. This is why change doesn't occur even when you're motivated. This is why it's January 19th and, all those New Year's resolutions that you had, they're starting to fade. And you're getting mad at yourself and you're like, forget it. I guess I can't do this, right? Because your system keeps broadcasting the same signal over and over and over and over and over. And until that signal changes, your future will keep looking like your past. And this is where creating and creativity becomes absolutely essential, because creating changes the state of your body. But here's the thing, you can't create, and I'm not just talking about like art or, crafting. I'm talking about creating your life, right? You cannot create something new if you are in a constant state of fight or flight. So when you create and when you get into that flow state, your attention moves into the present moment. Valenda, yes, it makes a lot of sense, right? When you create, your attention moves into the present moment. You forget about time. right? And if you're here and you are somebody that does craft or does create art, or if you're a writer, you know what I'm saying. When you create, you lose all sense of time. You forget about your body. Your back doesn't ache anymore, right? Your hands engage, your senses come offline. Your breathing shifts. It's not that like top of lung breath anymore where you're just taking shallow breaths and just trying to survive, right? You're not even paying attention. When you're creating, all of that leaves. You are in the present moment. The body exits all of this anticipation that something bad is going to happen, and it enters participation in the present moment. And that shift actually really, really, really matters. Because presence and the present moment, we know this, we've heard it before, we could probably even say it. But the present moment is all we have. The past isn't happening anymore. Yet we keep repeating that, right? Because I said the subconscious brain repeats something like 90% of the same thoughts that you had yesterday. It might even be more than that, right? When you're in the present, all you have is the present. There is no future. There's just now. So we can't anticipate a blow coming. We can't brace for something horrible to happen in the future if we're in the present moment. It moves our nervous system out of fight or flight. And then that chemistry in our body, that stress chemistry, begins to settle. And real blood flow returns to our organs, and that, is responsible for repair. It's responsible for regulation, for not feeling that anxiety all the time, for actually feeling good. Do you remember what that feels like to feel good? And that's why a lot of us love to create. That's why we feel so good when we're creating. That's why creating is so good for your mental health. Because this is the very moment your subconscious brain can receive that new information, right? I said before that change requires new input. When you are in the present moment and you're not cycling all of the old, thoughts and feelings, this is when your brain receives new information. Because the subconscious cannot change through force, no matter what we do, right? We can say, this time I'm changing. This time I'm going to do it. Hi, Michelle. And then it doesn't work. And then we're mad at ourselves. And we think that, we're not worthy of it. Or we think that we're not capable of it, right? But the key is just understanding how your brain works. When your body experiences safety and presence again and again and again and again and again and again and again, the subconscious updates. Because if we're living in this state of anxiety and stress and unworthiness and not good enough and comparison all the time, what are you repeating again and again and again and again and again, right? The subconscious is made for repetition. And then your body takes over. And if it's not feeling that repetitive, anxious, stressful state, it signals to the brain to give it a thought to create that anxiety. So the more you let yourself return to the present moment, where you lose all sense of time, where you lose your conscious knowledge of the state that your body is in, the more you return to that, the more your subconscious is updating to this new way of being. New neural pathways form in your brain. New emotional associations begin to develop. And this is where your new baseline, your new state becomes possible. So I said that the subconscious brain is repeating the same thoughts that you had yesterday, and you're probably unaware of this. But this is where you start to wire in those new thoughts so that your body can experience that feeling of presence, that feeling of no time, that feeling of peace. So this is why we feel better after we actually make something. This is why time feels different when you're creating art, writing, music, making something, any hands-on creation. This is so healing for you because you're training your body to live somewhere else. And this is why meditation is so essential. And I know, I honestly, honest to God, really and truly know that a lot of you say, I've tried meditating and it doesn't work for me. Right? I don't know how to meditate. Is it just sitting there? And what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just be quiet? Right? And you feel like you're a failure because you can't meditate. Is that making sense to you? Who's here live with me that says, I've tried to meditate and I can't do it? Emily, how are you? Who is here that has tried to meditate that you say, I've tried to meditate before, but I can't do it? It's because you're not doing it right. I just get easily distracted when attempting to meditate. Yes, right? It's because you are trying to meditate when your brain is not in a state to meditate. If you are in a state of anxiety, of stress, of hustle, all the things that we do, right? Comparing, unworthiness. If you are in that state and you try to go sit down and meditate, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And I explain all of this in massive detail in my manifestation through identity course, which I'll talk about later, but I talk about your brain states and why meditating doesn't work when you are in a state of survival mode. It's never going to work. It's never going to work. You can't allow something new in when your brain is constantly spiraling and spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. Emily says, I said the same thing 15 years ago, 100%. Calm the nervous system, then consistency creates momentum. It's so true. It's so true. Royce is here and Kim is here. So happy to see you. So when you are in a state of fight or flight, you can't meditate. You can't calm yourself down. It's literally impossible. So when I talk about creating, if you sit down with your art journal or with a canvas or whatever it is that you make, that's why it feels so good to create, because you are knocked out of that fight or flight and you are knocked into presence. That's why it feels so good, right? That is why it feels so good. You forget about your body. You forget about your worries. You forget about what happened in the past. You aren't projecting, that what if negative for the future. You're projecting nothing. You're creating. And meditation then is a state when you actually get to, that present moment, when you're not feeling your body, when you're not thinking about the past, when you're not thinking about the future, and you're actually in a state where your theta brainwaves are really, really firing, this is where creation begins. And this is how you begin to rewire your brain. This is where you receive more information. This is where you begin to trust yourself even more and more and more and more and more. And it's wild because, surviving versus thriving, these aren't personality traits. These are trained physiological states. It's trained biology. And because your subconscious brain repeats the same thoughts as it did the day before, especially because we're not even paying attention to it, it's just how our program is running. We can begin to understand why we let ourselves stay in fight or flight all the time. Connie, hello. So thriving instead of surviving emerges when your body feels safe enough to repair, to regulate, and to reorganize. And that state is actually built through repetition, right? Because, fight or flight is built through repetition as well. So when we let ourselves be more and more and more and more present, these begin to add up. We begin to crave presence instead of craving anxiety. And when I'm saying craving, it literally is like an addiction, because your body and your biology begins to regulate to whatever state it is that you are in. So if you're in anxiety, your body craves anxiety. It is an addiction. Right? I said before, if your body starts to not feel anxiety, it's signaling your brain to give it a thought so that it can start to feel that again, because it's an addiction. So the more that you are in the present moment, the more you allow yourself to get out of the monkey mind, to disassociate from the feelings in your body and to be present, the more your body will crave that state. This is how you rewire. So yes, creating is an amazing form of meditation if you're going to, paint on a canvas or write or create music or use your art journal or whatever it is. This is so healing. So if you can let yourself be in that state more and more and more and more, you're training your body to live somewhere else, in a different state, in a more present state, peaceful state, a state where possibility is actually present. And over time, your subconscious actually learns a different normal. And then because it repeats the same thoughts as it has yesterday, it begins to repeat these different thoughts. So this is how your identity begins to change. And this is how your health improves. Because if we're in a state of constant fight or flight, that's how stress begins to create disease in your body in different ways. So it is possible to improve your own health. And if you can allow yourself to be in that flow state while you're actually creating something, you can allow yourself to meditate. So understanding that allowing yourself to be in that present moment while you're creating, it's really and truly a biological requirement for anyone who wants to move out of this survival mode. And when you begin to create consistently, you begin to teach your body how to live in the present moment, where you're not bracing for something and you don't keep repeating the things that happened to you in the past. And this present moment, it is where thriving begins. And then you start to notice the possibility, your possibilities. You start to see change around you. You start to notice it in your 3D world in front of you, what's showing up in your life. And it really and truly, it'll shock you. And then you'll crave more and more and more and more of it. So if this is resonating with you at all, I actually have, I don't know if it's going to post. There we go. A Mind Body Business newsletter that I'm putting out every single Wednesday. It's free. It will give you lots and lots of information. It will give you journaling prompts. And if you're already on my email list, you're already going to receive this. If you're not, there's the opt-in for that newsletter every single Wednesday. It's going to give you things to think about. It's generally going to follow the theme of the podcast each week so that you can go further with this. If it's resonating with you and you're saying to yourself, wow, I want more of this Mind Body Business newsletter is where you'll get that. Okay. So if you're already on my email list, you're already going to get it. If not, there is the opt-in. It will be in the notes on the replay as well. And I also want to take a moment to talk about my amazing, amazing sponsor for this podcast. And my sponsor is Tendril and Thistle. And Tendril and Thistle invites you to slow down just for a moment to reconnect with yourself. And that goes so well with this episode, right? Just slowing down, breathing, reconnecting with yourself. And each self-care invitation is a small act of restoration crafted with comforting, handcrafted, pure essential oil blends and naturally derived ingredients to meet you right where you are. So whether you're beginning your day, whether you're pausing for a breath, tending to your body, or unwinding into rest, these simple, mindful moments remind you that care doesn't not need to be elaborate to be meaningful. So a listener offer just for listeners of the Mind Body Business podcast. You can enjoy 10% off your first order with code MINDBODY10 at tendrilandthistle.com/pages/the invitation. So I'm going to put that right in here and use code MINDBODY10. Did I have that right? Code MINDBODY10 for 10% off your first order. And I'll tell you, I absolutely love their products. And everybody I know that has used their products love them too. I always get them for all of my retreats. I get to hand them out to people so that they can experience that little moment of calm and that little moment of self-care anytime during the day. So if you have been living in survival for a long time, and most of us are in that survival mode, we really want to understand, Shannon, how are you? That we need to change the state that we're living from. And creating gives your body a new instruction. And taking it further, so does meditation. So when the body begins to change, your mind then follows, right? And that's what we want. We want that change. Everybody says, well, then how do I change? How does this happen? And this is how it happens. The more you're in the present moment and the more that you can get out of your own bracing for survival, right? The more your body begins to remember that. Ooh, yes, the magnesium foot salve from Tendril and Thistle is amazing. So another offer for you that is free is I have a free meditation for you, and it is called I Am Unlimited. I just put that link in the comments as well. If you are trying to meditate, I will give you this little hint. Do it right away in the morning, right when you're waking up, or do it right before you go to bed. Those are the two best times because you're starting to slow down, your brain waves are slowing down, and you can begin to change your brain in that way. So thanks for being here. I'm so grateful for you. If you want more, get on that Mind Body Business newsletter list. I'll be giving you lots of journaling prompts, lots of things to think about, and I'm grateful that you're here. So happy Monday to everybody, and I will see you next week.